What's going on, guys, and welcome back once again. So we did end up taking yesterday off, but it's a little later than normal today. We have a double feature coming tomorrow. Like I said, set championship weeks here, and I have a lot of stuff planned. It's just a matter of getting it all finalized and done in my free time and getting it to you guys without trying to rush it out too bad. The last Ruby Amethyst one, I realized after editing it didn't look as bad as I thought it was going to. For the time I put into it already, I'm like, you know what, we're just going to send it, but I decided we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to go back to how we used to do these videos, and instead of just showing you the spreadsheet right here that you can see, it is linked down below. Feel free to click on it, follow it, all that good stuff. But we're actually going to shut down the spreadsheet for this video, and we're going to go ahead and bring back the little thing like this. It's the same information, but into a more visually appealing aspect, if you ask me. So first off, we're talking about purple steel today. This is arguably the best deck in the game right now. I'm going to put asterisks, quotation marks, all that around that, because realistically there's like 8 very, very strong decks right now. The format is so open. I think it's incredible. I think it's a very fun format. I think everything's going great. For everyone who said discard's going to be so dominant, we're in a terrible format, it's not going to be like that. I'm just saying, I told you so. It wasn't going to be that way. Anyway, not saying it can't change. Maybe set championships, discard just dominates and takes over. I don't think that'll happen, but we'll see. Anyway, we're talking about purple steel today, bounce, aggro, however you want to word it. There's actually quite a few ways to play it. And again, the spreadsheet has a full breakdown on all that. But if we look at the cards, 22 tops, by the way, 15% of the pie chart, which is tied for first with Ruby Amethyst. If we look at cards that are being played, and these cards aren't necessarily in all of the lists. If we look at the absolute base core, I guess we can go ahead and bring the spreadsheet back up here for just a second, because I forgot that visual aspect. Above my lovely picture here, we can see the core, meaning 100% of lists played these cards, and the minimum ratio played. So 100% of the tops recorded played 2 followers, 4 Diablo, 2 Calhoun, 3 Smee, 2 Fox, only 2, 3 Crabs, 4 Pete, 4 Strength, and 4 Goat. Meaning, unlike the Ruby Amethyst video where only 8 out of 60 cards were locked in, 28 out of 60 cards played in 100% of lists. That does not mean you have to play these cards, because how does Ruby Amethyst get down to 8? People decide not to play cards. It's just that simple. Sometimes if the vast majority is playing it, people are ready for it, and sometimes it's that decision you decide to do that's not common that leads you to performing really well. I actually will go over my list at the end of this. I'm playing a card that is not in this chart whatsoever. And guess what? That's how new cards make it into the chart, because someone plays them and does well with them, tops with them, then they get into the chart. Assuming I get that top recorded. I don't record 100% of tops. So disclaimer there, I don't cherry pick them. I just go through, screenshot a handful without going through and reading card by card, and them are the ones that get entered. Vast majority, I just, between kids and jobs and everything, I don't have time to put in hundreds of deck lists. It's not going to happen for one person on my own. But anyway, so those 28 cards, if you're looking to play purple steel, grab those 28 cards. Again, link down below for all this information. These 28 cards, build off of that. How do you want to build it off of that? Where do you go from there? What do you do next? And if we look at common cards that are being played, these maybe aren't 100% played of lists, but these cards are played in over 50% of tops, and these are the most common ratio they're played at. I do want to point out there's 65 cards here. I'm not saying play this list. 1, it's 65 cards. 2, there's no tech card. No tech card, quote unquote. Meaning, this is just straightforward, the cards played in over 50%. But sometimes it's those tech cards, it's those choices, it's those uncommon things that lead you to doing really well. And sometimes it's not. Sometimes you just play cookie cutter and you go and you clap and you do great and it works. But if you want to take this list, trim off 5 cards and run with it, you're in a solid spot. There's really not a whole lot wrong with that, and I'm not going to argue with you. So if that's what you want to do, I mean, you can do that. That absolutely is a possibility. A lot of these lists are probably playing 40 to 50 of these cards and then just swapping around the last handful. But we see 4 followers, 4 Diablo, 4 Broom. Again, not everyone's playing 4 of all of them. Just it's most common to be played at 4 if they're playing them. I think Diablo is the only one that was a unanimous 4 of out of the 3. And then if we look at the 2 drops, Snake was only played in 54% of lists. but when it's played, it's most commonly played at 4. Hence, it's in here as a 4 of. You could play it at 2, or you could just as easily play it at 0, because guess what? 46% of tops played it at 0. So you don't have to play these cards again. 3 Calhoun, 4 Doc, 4 Smee, 4 going into our 3 drops now. We got the Ghostly Serpent, Giant Cobra, 4 Crab, 4 Foxes. Like right off the top, you could cut 1 Fox, 4 Snakes, and there's a 60 card deck list that's going to be very, very solid for you. Like if I was going to play this list and just drop 5 cards, it would be 4 Snake and 1 Crab, and then I would run with that list. I'm not doing that. I have a little bit slightly different list, but we'll get to that in a little bit. 4 Genies, Goats, Rabbit, at 3, and keep in mind here too, Genie is played at 3 almost identically. I think out of the 13 recorded tops for this video, I try to do 10 to 15 of every deck, by the way. There was 5, I think there was 1 at 2, 5 at 3, and 6 at 4. So 4 is the most common ratio, but it's not by much. Like, so you could easily play 3 Genies as well, 4 Elsas, 4 Strength, and 3 Libraries rounding out that. So what about some other cards that are seeing play? Ignore the ones. These are just in here because they're tech cards. It's no ratios here whatsoever. So ignore the ones. These are just in here as tech cards. So in the 1-drop spot, we see Mulan. It's a potential draw, fix your hand type card. Makes sense. You got Mickey Mouse. He can quest a few times, get you that lore because the resist 1 with the 2 willpower. In your 2s, you got Helga, who's the 0/4, but she gets the challenger. When she's damaged, her ability as well. Sorry, a little frog in my throat. And then also Honey Marin as a pseudo White Rose, where if your opponent has an exerted card when you play her, you get a lore. Personally, I would rather just play White Rose. It costs 1 more ink, but you can do it all of the time. You don't need that exerted card. Usually they'll have it, yes, but that one time that they don't and you don't win the game because of it, you're going to wish it was a Rose. Very few times if you're closing out a game do you not have that extra lore for the Rose. Tinkerbell Fast Flyer, I'm a huge fan of the card personally. It's saw play in quite a few lists, not 50% though. I think it's 46%, so just below that mark between making it between text and common ratio. Most commonly played as a 4 of. Benja played in one list. We saw Lawrence come in it a couple times. Gantu, the one where your opponent needs to pay 2 extra to do an action, you know, push those B preps off a little bit. Not a bad tech card. Again, sometimes these tech cards, the White Roses, the Gantus, the Honey Marins, the Helgas, the Tinkerbells, Lawrence, sometimes these are the cards that win you matches, win you games. So again, I don't say just take that common list and cut it down to 60. We saw Playful Sorcerer and Giant Fairy both seeing some play. Fire the Cannons, but boom, along came Zeus, just as more forms of removal from the Steel Engine. But yeah, that's overall where we're at. So we saw the common techs, or common ratios, and the techs. And what about my list? If I'm to play, almost said Ruby Amethyst. If I'm to play Amethyst Steel this weekend, Sunday, at All Access Card Shop, I would probably play a list virtually identical to this. I'm not sold on this deck yet. I'm between this one, Blurple, and Green Purple, or Steel Song too. Between those 4 decks, I truly don't know which one I'm going to play yet. If I take Amethyst Steel, though, this probably is going to be card for card the list that I play. We got 10 1-drops with the 3 Chernobygs and Brooms, 4 Diablos. In our 2-drops, just 7. I'm not playing Doc. I've been critical of the card. I've been not a huge fan of the card. I've talked about it countless times. Drawing 2 obviously is good. I see it in multiples. I see it early game. I see it in so many situations that I really don't like it. I played it as a 2 of a lot of the time too, and I was still either seeing it early or just seeing it in bad situations, and I led me to cutting the card entirely. Have not missed it whatsoever. Lots of people like it. It's in the majority core section. Most people like it. Most people do well with it. That's fine. I'm just saying you don't need to play it to see success. We saw that in the percentages, and I'm also one of those players who vouch for not playing it personally. I think good card in theory. Overall, it just has severely underperformed for me in every steel deck I've ever played it in, and for that reason, cross that. Diggy Diggy Hole, it goes hard. Any other steel deck, though, I have had very poor feelings about Doc in the deck personally. So playing the 3 Calhouns, 4 Smees. I like the high 1-drop count. I like the Smees. You can get to a nice early start. You're not playing hyper aggro, but you're playing quick and can go under a lot of decks. And then you have cards like your 4 Giant Cobras, your 4 Goats to close games out and win before your opponent, if they start board wiping you or getting to you when you're at that high lore count. We got 4 Foxes, 3 Crabs. I think Crab is just insanely strong to boost your Tinkerbells, to boost your Genies, these evasive cards to be able to trade with like Half Sharks, to do stuff like that. I think that Crab is just very good, in addition to boosting your Diablo, boosting your Brooms just to get really good trade-off value, boosting a Calhoun to 6 to take out a huge threat that way too. Crab is just very, very strong, very, very important. I like Tinkerbell a lot. I really, really like Tinkerbell. Like, if I'm going against, like, a Ruby Sapphire style deck, if I can hit Smee, Tink, Genie, good game. Game over. Next game. I don't know. Not a whole lot more to say about it. Like, those 3, if it's not hyper aggro, again, you're not winning by turn 5. But you can apply a lot of pressure, and then when you have cards that get you 2 lore, get you a lore, you can potentially bounce those cards. It's threatening. It's very threatening, and your opponent has to have a way to really deal with it in that regard. 4 Peats, we're not playing snakes, so we have less bouncers. We have less ways to recycle it and reuse the Peat and repeat your opponent. So I am playing 4. Typically, I play like 2 to 3, but because of the lack of snake and the direction that the deck is going, I have opted for the 4th Peat. My ratios between Genie and Rabbit, I usually play like 6 or 7 of them combined. I think with discard being what it is, I think 3 Rabbit is pretty needed. I don't want to play less. A lot of people are actually cutting Rabbit entirely. I still like it for the consistency and the card draw. Genie just offers that evasive threat, so I didn't want to go down to like a 2-4 split in favor of Rabbit. I wanted 3-3 I felt pretty comfortable with. I think that it allows you to be faster and apply that pressure, especially being evasive. And also at the same time, it replaces itself. It's never going to be a bad card to play. 4 Goats, pretty standard. 4 Elsas right now, that's pretty telltale. Finders Keepers, I like this card. Blurple plays this card a lot. Ruby Amethyst plays this card a bit. And I don't really see any reason that we shouldn't play it in Amethyst Steel at all. It's inkable. So any matchup you can ink it, or it's just get 3 cards. Like, you top deck something, odds are, is it the perfect card to lift you out of that situation right then? Is it a Goat? Is it a Cobra? Maybe. But if it's Finders Keepers, now you get to draw 3 cards, then you have another turn, now you draw another one, so you have 4 cards instead of 2 cards at that point. I think Finders Keepers definitely is warranted of a spot. I like it, and it's inkable, so at the end of the day, you can always just get rid of it, ink it if you need to do it that way. 4 Strength, 2 Zeus. I wanted to fit 3 Zeus in, but I ended up taking the 3rd one out for that Finders Keepers. Half Shark's a big threat. You got to deal with it. There's other threats, but overall, I felt the utility of Finders Keepers was a little bit better than the 3rd Along Came Zeus, and that's the reason we opted to go for that. And then lastly, it kind of pains me to put Library in the deck. Kind of like Doc. I've been critical of the card. Less critical, because I do like Library, but usually it came down to I like Castle more than Library. Currently, I'm not in a spot where I like Castle more than Library. Ruby Amethyst is insanely popular right now, and Half Shark in Popsicle is also insanely popular. Like, there's too many immediate answers for Castle, and most of those answers will deal with the Library relatively the same. It takes a little bit more usually, but relatively it's minimal the difference. I do think in this deck versus other purple decks that the Smee also dying because of his injuries, if you will, does help lift Library up a little bit. Overall, in theory, in practice, I do like Castle more than Library. In a vacuum, I like Castle more than Library. Right now, where this format is at, though, and where this deck is at personally, I think I'd lean Library. Like I said, in a vacuum, if you handed me the 2 cards and said you have to play an Amethyst deck with one of these in it, which card's better, I'm going to take Castle most of the time. Most of the time I'm going to take Castle still, and I still think it is the better card. Just where this format is at right now, I think Library is the call to make. And most people are just on Library all the time, but I do agree with them right now that I think Library is the call. If you like Castle, I like Castle a lot. I really, really do. Just not right now. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Sorry to ramble a little bit there towards the end. Hopefully the video is informative. Again, spreadsheet is linked down there, and it tracks the tops too. There's different tabs. I'll have different deck cores, all that stuff. All these videos, all that information will all be there. I'm going to have a pretty wide variety of stuff in it. Let me know, what can we do to make it better, more visual appealing. Do you prefer the images like this, or do you like the spreadsheet just on the screen where we go through it? When I was in editing, I was like, I'm not a huge fan of this, but for the amount of time we already got in, like I said in the beginning, I just felt like I had to just push through, put it out there, and I said, I'm not doing this again. We're doing the visuals. I'm going to make it a little bit different for the next time, and we're going to continue doing it this way because I like the visuals more. Me personally, I apologize for putting out a product I'm not huge about, but I like it like this a lot more. I've had a lot of kind words from you guys. Appreciate that. I don't want to get too sappy here, so like, share, subscribe. Thanks for watching. Comment down below.